Everyone, welcome to Sports Shorts Daily, presented by LaBerge Casino here on this Wednesday morning edition. Ronnie Rants alongside Tommy Chrysan on the final day of November 2022. TK joining us from Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. My, how this year has flown by. My goodness, can't believe we're already to December. I just got used to writing on checks and stuff, 2022, and now I got to learn 2023. Today on Sports Shorts, we're going to talk about the SEC championship game. The line is moving around anywhere from 17 and a half, all the way up to even 18 and a half as far as Georgia being a favorite over LSU. Great news for Tulane. We'll get into what that means. Prep high school semifinals for the state championships, which are all going to be in the Dome, the 7th, 8th, and 9th of December, all the 8 classifications, big teams in Baton Rouge area. We'll get into that, who's still alive. Southeastern, the Lions won what was arguably one of the best football games of the year. Many people weren't watching it. You're watching LSU and Texas A&M maybe last Saturday, while Southeastern knocked off Idaho and now advanced to take on Samford. That's Stanford without the T. They had a back and forth crazy game that wasn't decided until the second to last play when Idaho's kicker slipped on the turf and missed the field goal that would have tied it and forced overtime. But the Lions have a big challenge this week. Tommy will tell us about that. And Deion Sanders admitted publicly that Colorado did in fact offer him the job, but yet a lot of other jobs are filling up and no prime time. And I tell you what, if you watch Facebook, social media, and you see the videos and the speeches and the clips coming out of Jackson from Deion Sanders, there's a lot of people jumping on the Deion Sanders train, and as relative to how he's relatable to the modern player and in the way that he thinks and the teachings that he does is pretty impressive. Southeastern Louisiana, the women, the Lady Lions, came to Baton Rouge last night and almost shocked the world. Out of the 4 quarters that they played against Kim Mulkey's team this year, last night, they won the first and the third quarter, and they pushed the fourth quarter. They got blown out in the second quarter, and that was the difference. LSU won only by 8 and didn't even get out of the 60s. So after LSU's women's basketball had been having these cupcake games and scoring nearly 100 points every time out, they had a struggle last night and survived against the Southeastern Lady Lions. Kim Mulkey was not happy. And also, it's also a little sneak behind the curtain that this team's maybe not as good as we thought they would be. They're going to have some struggles before they get better. Let's bring in Tommy Chrysan. Last night, TK and I filled in for Dan Canterbury. He's on the DL on Hold the Rope. With Coach Bertman. We had Dee Bro on the show. It was a lot of fun. Enjoyed that. So, Tommy, tell us about Southeastern last night, first off. The Lions, I mean, that was a shocker. I actually had to check the box score. I wanted to look up what happened. I didn't see the game. I was doing Hold the Rope TV with you guys. But, man, I mean, Southeastern almost knocked off LSU.
Yeah, they really did. And, I mean, I knew the score, and then you and I listened to Kim Mulkey's after the game presser a few minutes ago, and she said she expected Southeastern to play like that. She respects their coach, and that, she saw what was happening. And then she also saw why it maybe didn't go like everybody might have thought it would, talking about, when everybody on the floor has to do the right thing. And that's going to be part of what she'll fix and correct. I'm sure today at practice is not going to be fun for that team. She's going to correct some things. She's going to point out the mistakes, teachable. It's going to be a very teaching day, and let them know that, we can't do that again and have our ultimate goals be reached. So a little bit surprised about the score, the difference, the fact that Southeastern came, and everybody's going to throw their punch, and it's Southeastern. Kim went to Hammond High. Southeastern knows the whole story. So they were ramped up to play Kim Mulkey and, of course, to play LSU. So you give the Lady Lions a little credit. We'll see how they go the rest of the year.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like this was a Southeastern team that came in, undefeated, and and this was their first test, and they brought. I mean, this was a Southeastern team that lost by 37 to Utah. They were 4-3. They beat the Cupcakes. They lost the ones they were supposed to lose. So that was a shocking development last night to realize that LSU's women's basketball team is not anywhere near ready for SEC play. They're going to need the month of December in a big way to get geared up. And no question, Kim Mulkey's not going to be fun to be around this week at practice. It'll be the old school fiery Kim as she was in the press conference. All right, let's move on. Speaking of hoops, the Pelicans won their last time out. I'm trying to see what's up next on their schedule.
They host the Raptors tonight. Raptors are a 1-point favorite. Pelicans are 12-8. They've got some good games out of Zion, which if they get that, they got a great shot to win. They do have a few guys banged up, but they're doing well through 20 games, basically a fourth of the way through the season. And, playing at home tonight, hopefully there'll be a big crowd down there and see if they get another win against a good Toronto team.
I mean, you gotta like Pelicans getting points at home.
Albeit one, yeah.
I mean, just one, but still, you got two teams that at least on paper have similar records, so I might be tempted there to throw a couple ducats towards the Pels. Pels last time out beat the Thunder 105-101. That was on Monday night. So we'll see. We'll see. Good to see Zion back in there, playing well and healthy. Now, how long that'll last, who knows? I'm actually going to be taking in a Pelicans game, Tommy. I've got a buddy of mine who's got tickets like on the second row, literally behind the bench. And so he gave me his tickets for a game later this month against Milwaukee. So I'll get to see the Greek Freak up close and personal. That'll be exciting. Hopefully Zion will be healthy and get a chance to see those two go at it. So I'll have a full little report on what it's like and what my thoughts are as I'm sitting there literally courtside. That'll be later this month, I think on a Monday night. Stephen Miller chiming in with us. That Tulane line jumped up a point after it was reported that Coach Fritz is not leaving for Georgia Tech. That brings us to our next topic. Willie Fritz, it was expected that he was going to be the lead candidate. He was going to leave Tulane. He was going to accept the Georgia Tech job. There were some outlets that actually reported that he was leaving to take the Georgia Tech job. That did not happen. Now, we don't know if they never offered after they met. We don't know if Willie Fritz turned him down. We don't know if he wanted too big of a budget for his assistant coaches or some sort of autonomy that they didn't want to give him. We don't know. But we do know that he's staying at Tulane. He announced that, or at least he's staying, not taking the Georgia Tech job. He's staying at Tulane for now. And it's expected that Georgia Tech's going to promote their interim coach, who was obviously the head coach when they beat a ranked top 10 North Carolina team, that they're going to promote him to the full-time spot. This is a shocking development for Tulane.
Yeah, it really was. I spoke to a guy you know very well, Lenny Van Gilder, the other day, and I asked him what was up with Fritz, and he said, it's unknown and looked like he was going to at least stay through this Saturday's championship game. And that maybe something would happen the next week. But then, Georgia Tech promoted the guy, and, that's what we got.
Yeah, I mean, Tulane right now at home, a 3.5-point favorite, against Central Florida. And that's a game that Central Florida, by the way, just a few weeks ago came into New Orleans and handled Tulane pretty easily. The score was only ended up being a 7-point spread, but that Central Florida was comfortably ahead all day long on that one. So, maybe now with the Fritz noise, the good news, and the fact that they're playing a championship game at home, this is going to be the biggest game in Tulane history outside of maybe them playing in the Sugar Bowl back in the day. But playing at home for a championship, for your conference championship, this is just like what happened to the Raging Cajuns last year when they hosted the Sun Belt Championship game on their home turf, and Lafayette ended up winning that game, had a big crowd. Hopefully the outcome and all is exactly the same in New Orleans. Stephen Miller also pointing out that Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, says he will make an announcement on Sunday as to where he will coach next year. Programs that are currently in the mix, speculation around Cincinnati, Colorado, South Florida. Obviously Sunday is an important day because it's the day after the SWAC championship game, which Prime hosts Southern. Should be a blowout. Southern was shut out during the year against Jackson State. They're the best team in the SWAC by far. But we'll find out on Sunday. Going to be very interesting to see where indeed he goes. The only thing we know for sure is that Colorado offered Deion Sanders the job. We have speculation on others, but nothing that's confirmed.
Yeah, well, and they're 17.5 point favorite over Southern. They posted that line last night. So, and they beat them 35-0, 5, 6, 7 weeks ago, whenever it was. I would expect they beat Southern, but Coach Dooley's going to get the Jaguars ready and, hey, go for it. That's all they can do. Show up and play, see what happens. But I think Deion Sanders will be somewhere other than Jackson State next year.
Well, the thing that the thing that concerns me, if you're a Jackson State fan and when you're wondering if you're going to get Jackson's best foot forward on Saturday, because 17.5 at home for a conference championship against a Southern team that didn't look very good against Grambling. Grambling's not a good team. It was a sloppy game. They ended up winning it, but it wasn't too impressive. I would think that Jackson State would cover that spread, but if there's a lot of talk all week long and distraction about is Deion staying, is he going, and all that kind of stuff, it could distract the fans, it could distract the staff, it could distract the players, wondering, am I going to transfer? Am I going to go with them? Am I going to stay here? Everybody's got their own personal decisions to make if indeed Deion Sanders leaves. It could be Jackson could be looking ahead or worried about something else, thinking, we've got this against Southern, and maybe not play their best, and that's good for Southern, gives them a chance.
Yeah, well, Southern's got to block out all that distraction and line up and play 60 minutes of football and see if they. I think the key for Southern would be be in the fourth quarter, have a chance to win the game, because then anything can happen.
The high school football state championships are they went from 9 divisions down to 8. The finals are going to be December 7th, 8th, and 9th. All of them in the Dome this year. 2 games Thursday, 3 Friday, 3 Saturday. Am I getting that right? December 7th, 8th, 9th? Yeah, December 7th, 8th, 9th. And which is, I'm sorry, December 8th, 9th, 10th.
Yeah, the 7th's a Wednesday.
Wednesday, right. The 8th, 9th, and 10th. Actually, speaking of the 7th, I'll be in Natchitoches on December the 7th. We'll have a brand new unveiling of the Heisman Trophy display that we're going to have in Natchitoches, where we're going to have a case that has some stuff from all the different Heisman Trophy winners. There's been 4: Crow, Cannon, Smith, and Burrow from the state of Louisiana. And so we're going to have a little reception on the 7th. We're going to have representatives of each of their families there, and it's going to be a nice little event. So that's going to actually be on December 7th in Natchitoches. And of course, from that point on, it'll be there for folks to be able to see when they come up to that area, to the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, which is the Hall of Fame, if you want to know, is open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 until 4:30. So if you're in the area, if you're driving on I-49, going up to Shreveport or to Dallas or wherever, heading to Arkansas, it's literally 7 minutes off the interstate. So when you see that Natchitoches exit, take the Natchitoches exit, go right, and you'll pass the Northwestern State campus. You'll go right into downtown Natchitoches. It's 7 minutes from the interstate, so it's an easy on and off, and well worth stopping in and checking out the museum when you're passing through. But the high school state championships, and I'm glad, Tommy, that they're all back. They're not dissected into, Tulane and Southeastern or UL. They're all playing these state championships in the Dome. Even if it's a Thursday at 4:00 or 5:00, that's still better than playing anywhere else. This is the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, it's all, I think it was 1981 was the first year they put all that in the Superdome. And that became a thing for kids. And as you know, and like you, I've announced hundreds of high school games over the years. And that was always a thing, man. We got to get to the Dome. We want to play in the Dome where the Saints play. And at the time, Tulane played. It's a big thing for the kids because some of them are never going to play in an arena like that again. Most of them are not going to play in an arena like that again. So it's a cool thing. I still wish they'd get rid of the select, non-select, but that's a topic for another day. But it's great that these kids and these coaches and players and the families are going to have a chance to go play in the Superdome and win a state championship. And I would say this to the 8 teams that lose: you still had a great year, it just didn't end the way you wanted it. Enjoy every minute of it.
Was it 82 when John Curtis played Covington? I mean, when John Ehret played Covington?
81. The 81 finals in the Domes. First
81.
year they did it. And I'm certain of that because of Jack Salter. and John Ehret beat Covington in '81 in the dome.
I was at that game.
Yeah, it was like 32-13. It wasn't real close in the second half.
And then they had a quarterback named Valentine.
Yes. He went to Nicholls. Went to LSU. Leonard Valentine. He went to LSU. Didn't work out. He went to Nicholls and played a little bit.
Yeah, he was the quarterback.
There was no 5A. That was a 4A state championship.
Yeah.
And then Covington got back to the dome in '87, lost to Vance Joseph and Shaw, and had Turney. But '81 was the first one in the dome.
Yeah, I remember going to that state championship game. I can't remember if I went with my dad or if I went with like my little league football coach and a couple of players, something like that. But I remember sitting in the loge, I believe, and watching that. And I remember Valentine was a stud at quarterback.
They had a big time wide receiver too, Tyrone Vaughn, who went to Tulane.
Okay, yeah, kind of.
He was like 6'4" back when you almost didn't have 6'4" wide receivers.
Yeah.
And Covington had the best running back in the state, Vincent Alexander, who ended up playing 4 years at Southern Miss and a little bit in the NFL. But the John Ehret Patriots, Jesse Daigle was the coach of that team.
Oh, wow.
Jesse's daddy. The Jesse know's daddy was the head coach of that John Ehret team.
Yeah, his dad then ended up being a coach at Catholic and LSU.
LSU.
Yeah, interesting. Speaking of high school state championships, obviously in the Baton Rouge area, a couple teams that are still alive. Zachary has got a big game. Zachary on the road at #1 Ruston. And, oh, by the way, the quarterback's coach at Ruston is Steve Ensminger Jr. And so that's a big one. And then West Feliciana's hosting a playoff game. They're hosting the #2 seed in Division II non-select. They're hosting Lutcher. I know Catholic High has a big game. Dunham is still alive. U High just had the best game of the year. They went down to New Orleans and just spanked Newman and Arch Manning. And Arch Manning didn't even throw for 100 yards, had a couple interceptions, including a 100-yard interception in the end zone, fumbled. So it was a tough way for him to end his high school career. He will not be sending Tommy Christ a Christmas card. Will Arch Manning, as you have been ultra critical of him, saying if his last name was Rance, he'd be a 2-star. but that said, U High is, they're an 8, 9 seed because they had a brutal schedule and whatnot. They are not an 8 or 9 seed. That's whatever formulation they used to figure that out is absolutely ridiculous because U High is a darn good team, as you saw, by knocking off #1 Newman on their own field. So a lot of great high school state championship action this weekend. I can tell you, Tommy, of all the times that I've seen athletes cry, whether it be the Olympics, whether it be after winning a Super Bowl or whatever, I've never seen athletes cry harder or longer than after their last high school football game, whether it's a regular season, playoff, state championship, doesn't matter the situation. I mean, you will see guys cry like as if there's a death in the family after their last high school football game. It means that much to people. And the reality of I'm never going to do this again for 98% of the people that put on the uniform are never going to play college football. And so that reality that this is it, I'm never going to have this feeling again, hits them. And it blows my mind every single time. It's heart-wrenching to see.
Well, I've seen that movie many, many times over the years, when I started with doing Covington High football, and I did Denham Springs football for 5 or 6 years, and other schools and teams and TV and internet. You're right. It's a different kind of a cry, than you normally see.
When I was in high school graduating from Menard High, I can remember my junior year, we lost on the road at Jonesboro Hodge in the first round of the playoffs. We actually, I believe, had the lead at halftime, and then they beat us. And they were a much better team. They had college players, and they won the state championship that year. But we hung in there. I think we lost by 1 score or something. It was close. And I remember that one of the tougher guys on our team, a safety, tight end guy who, would fight anybody and would hit you, seeing him cry like a little baby going off the field after was very impactful to me. It's like, wow, and he was also a guy who didn't have a lot else going on. He was, not doing great in school, and he didn't really play a lot of other sports. Like this was it. This is what he put all of his time and effort into. And then for him, the realization that this was it, he was never going to play again, hit him. And I remember that really making a big deal. And then, of course, a year later, I was that guy. I was playing my high school football game, and unfortunately for me, I got hurt in the playoff game that we lost. We had a lead. I went out. We lost the game. I kind of hurt my knee. Nothing major, like didn't have to have surgery, but it was enough to where it kept me, limping around and all for a month after. And I remember it hit me like a ton of bricks too, because even though I played basketball and I knew I was going to play baseball in college and all that kind of stuff, the feeling, and I tell people this all the time, I was fortunate to be on 2 teams that won national championships. I was fortunate to be on summer teams that won championships in the Cape Cod and Alaska and NBC and in minor leagues, and got to go to the White House, meet the president and all that stuff because of baseball. Friday night high school football games was the best juice, the best feeling of any sport I ever played, any situation. If I could bottle up what it's like to play a high school football game on Friday night at home, that feeling, if everybody could feel that, the world would be a better place. I mean, I'm telling you, it was that impactful for me, and it is that impactful for a lot of people out there. And I've had cool other experiences, but nothing will ever top high school Friday night football.
Well, Ronnie, I did not play high school football, but I can tell you, announcing literally hundreds of games over the years, it's one of my favorite things, and especially when I was doing games every week. I mean, just the bands, the dance team, the cheerleaders, mom, dad, grandma, and grandpa. It's truly, a special thing. The Friday Night Lights made a movie out of it, TV show out of it. It's a special thing. And high school football is so big in Louisiana. So many good coaches, players, teams. So many good communities that support their teams, the big communities, the little communities. It's a special thing in Louisiana and other states, but high school football, that's up near the top of the list.
It truly is Americana, not to be cheesy, but that it really is. I mean, it
wraps up. Everybody goes sit on the back of the pickup truck after the game and have a something and go from there.
All right, TK, tell us a little bit about Tremonti's before we get out of here.
Well, they're loading up, all the catering that you need for Christmas parties, office parties at your house. The big special, they don't sell as many turkeys as they do at Thanksgiving, but they got prime rib, you got brisket, you got hams, all the wine and whiskey and liquor that you need. They got the swamp buckets are back in stock, the Primo charcoals, which is the best charcoal made. They got a big shipment of that in today. Tremonti's on Jefferson Highway, right down the street from Parkview Baptist Church and School. You need to stop by, see what they got here, see what they can do for you. Go to Tremontis.com or go to the Facebook or Instagram page. They do a pretty good job of keeping everything posted there, or give them a call. Lunch special today is lasagna if you're in the mood for that. But the holiday catering, that's the big thing right now at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood in Baton Rouge.
All right, for Tommy Christ saying, I'm Ronnie Rance. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you on Friday morning for more Sports Shorts Daily.
Well, no,
tomorrow morning. That's right.
9:30 tomorrow. Then we got radio. Hit them up with the radio real quick, Ronnie.
So Friday morning, tomorrow we'll do Sports Shorts Daily, because Friday morning the team of Sports Shorts is taking over OTB. We'll be in studio at Guarantee as T-Bob and Jacob are going to be on their way to Atlanta. We will be taking over OTB. So Team Sports Shorts will be in the house from 7 to 10. You'll have appearances by everybody from Derry Beckwith and Joel Davis and Tommy Christ and Hunter McCann. So tune into that. And, of course, download the 104.5 ESPN app on your phone. You can watch us also on YouTube. So that'll be Saturday morning. So you'll be overloaded with Sports Shorts this week. Looking forward to that. For Tommy, I'm Ronnie. Have a great one, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.